Pete Hegseth's message to the military: we have it, and this is why it should terrify you. If what he and President Trump said yesterday becomes truth, the American military will develop a culture that not only allows, but also fosters violations of domestic and international laws. And I'll go in depth in my Substack, but for now I plucked a few direct quotes by Hegseth that paint a very clear picture. America will now openly attack whomever it considers its enemy without regard for rules of engagement or international laws. And we know this because we heard what Hegseth had to say. For example, he said, "We fight to win, not to defend." This violates the most basic tenets of international law as well as NATO and UN Charter rules. There is aggression and there is defense, and Hegseth is patently clear the new military will be guided by aggression. And regarding rules of engagement, he said, no more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Pete, there's no such thing as politically correct rules of engagement. There's engagement that is lawful under international law and engagement that violates international law, and Hegseth apparently chose the latter. This is absolutely terrifying considering that the United States already has been accused dozens of times in the last 20 years of violating humanitarian laws, but the United States is not party to the International Criminal Court, which means that the military cannot be made to answer by the international community. Oh, and by the way, Hegseth made it very clear that he wants to build a military that savors violence. And we know this because during his speech, he said that yes, drill sergeants can put their hands on recruits in basic training. So what we're doing here is train so that future combatants will be taught that the only possible engagements is through unbridled violence. And of course, all this will happen in the context of a culture of silence. And Hegseth said it clearly when he said no more anonymous complaints, no more repeating complainants, and an overhauling of the Inspector General. No more anonymous complaints clearly means fear of reprisal, so less complaints. And let's remember that the Inspector General's job is to investigate internal and external misconduct, including violations of rules of engagement or the law of armed conflict. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hegseth started a deconstruction of the American military that might take us into one of the darkest, most unlawful and isolated times in our country's history. And in all this, Congress continues to be quiet.